My day as a medical biller has routines, but it never is the same. No 2 days are the same. My name is Tamika. I'm a certified professional biller and a certified practice manager, and I am a self-employed medical biller. Now, I've been a medical biller for 20 years now, and I have been self-employed, but now I am fully self-employed for a few months now. I think the fact that my days don't look the same is what actually intrigued me and excites me when it comes to doing medical billing. So I thought today I would take you along with me to show what my day looks like today. So I normally start off my day checking my email. It is currently around 10:38, and so I've been in my office for a little while now, but I've actually been dealing with some personal things, appointments, all of those things. But I am starting now at 10:30, and the thing about being self-employed is that sometimes you get thrown off of your routine. Unlike with a job, you come in at a specific time and you have to be in at 8 and you leave at 5. With being self-employed, you can determine what your times are. Now, I would recommend that you do have a routine though, because you don't want to get thrown off each and every day. You don't want to start work later and later and maybe even not do all the things that you have to do. So you should actually be having a routine and try and keep that routine consistent. But you can have flexibility and room to change when things happen. So as for today, things happened and I'm starting off my day at around 10:38. So I usually check my email, which is one of my routines or a part of my routine. I check my email for the day just to see what I have going on. I communicate with my providers through my email. I have, other regular emails going through there. I need to send out stuff to talk to payers. All type of things go on through my email. So I usually check my email daily. And I try to check it and kind of like keep it open where I can respond to my providers pretty quickly. I don't guarantee that I'm going to respond, right when they send me emails, but I try to make sure it's within 24 hours. Sometimes it's a little longer depending on what they need. I try not to let it pass, 48 hours. I do at least respond and say, I see your email, I'm working on it. And it usually goes like that. For me, that kind of keeps it where the provider doesn't have to call me all the time, 24/7. We respond pretty much through email, and that seems to have been working well for me with the providers that I do have. If you have providers that would prefer to talk to you, because some providers do prefer that, then you have to figure out how you're going to deal with that. So I'm checking my email and I do have 22 emails. I've realized that since I've been working self-employed, especially full-time, my email is just completely always full. It's never zero, which is fine because that means I have work. But I'm going to just go through that and delete stuff that is not urgent, or not that it's not urgent, it's not important, because I might get some random requests from LinkedIn or just different things that I can just delete. Maybe an update saying I received a payment for a provider through a payer or something, and I can delete certain things. As far as organizing my email to see what was done and what wasn't, sometimes emails can get really bogged down and stuff. And so the way I deal with it is that if I dealt with the email, if I finished with it, responded, done whatever I had to do, I have different folders for different providers. So I would put it in that folder, number one, which would tell me that I dealt with it already. Number two, if I read the email and I didn't deal with it, then I would put it back to being unread. And for me, that signifies, or that shows that I haven't dealt with it, I need to deal with it. And so that's how I deal with my emails, to kind of keep it organized, because it can become a lot after a while. So like I get emails from payers. First coast service option is my Medicare MAC in the US Virgin Islands. So they send me emails. I kind of look through them. I always get questions about how to keep up on payer guidelines, and this is one of the ways. If for some reason, because sometimes they can also get a lot and overwhelming, you can have a folder for all the payer newsletters and stuff like that, and maybe review them on one specific day of the week so that you don't have to be dealing with it each and every day. What I've also noticed is that switching back and forth, doing certain things, can get you have to kind of strike up again. So if I am dealing with sending out claims and then I jump into my email and have to respond to something, then that can slow me down, number one, and then get me discombobulated because I was dealing with claims and now I'm dealing with this. I try to focus on one thing. So right now I'm within my email, just reviewing it, just seeing if there is anything that I can deal with without having to jump out of it. So like I said, I delete emails that I don't need. That's the first thing that I do. Then I just kind of review the other emails that are from providers and see if I can deal with it right away. Maybe they're just asking me a question here or there, and I kind of deal with it that way. If it's something that's a little bit more deeper and I need to go into research or something like that, then I would put it back as being unread, and I would deal with it on the time or the day that I would deal with that particular provider's, practice and what I'm doing with them. So that's what I'm doing right now, is just checking my emails. And like I said, I do check them daily. So today I am dealing with 3 of my providers. Well, actually it's 2 of my providers and I have a bookkeeping client. So if you don't know, I have 4 clients, 3 being medical billing clients and 1 being more of like a invoicing bookkeeping client. Not doing the full bookkeeping scope, it's more of accounts receivable. Pretty much accounts receivable. So that's what I'm going to be dealing with today. 2 of the medical billing clients is what I'm going to be dealing with today. So I'm going through my email to see if they had any prior questions or anything that I can deal with for them. So now I am working on the account that I have for a provider. We're using Theranest. I already dealt with my email stuff that I'm going to deal with for right now. And I am jumping into what I'm dealing with for this provider. Now, my different providers, I do different things for. One of them, I do the complete billing cycle, meaning from claim submission to patient statements. And 2 of my providers, I do specific things. So one of them, I do more like AR management, where if there are issues, clearing up any of those things, the cash registrations or updates, revalidations, do things like that. The other provider, I also do more of a rejections, AR, things like that. So I'm not doing the complete claims submission to patient statements for all of my providers. And so there are certain things that I do. As for yourself, you can choose to do that or not. At the beginning, I wanted to do everything. If I was a person to do claim submission, I would also be the person to do patient statements, like from the beginning to end. However, this is your medical billing business and you can do what you want. And I have chosen to kind of a la carte it, if you may say, or not. And so for this particular provider, that is what I am doing. Okay, so after logging in, like I said, I usually go to, of course, the billing portion of it. We want to make sure that what was sent in through claim submission, which I don't do, but I want to make sure that there are no rejections and no denials. So I'm going to go through a rejection/denial bucket, which is within Theranest. That's how they have it set up. Now, Theranest is a new practice management system for me, and so it is, I'm kind of still learning it. It is kind of iffy. I don't know how well I like it. I think there's a lot of things that could be better. I'm not sure the billing practice management systems are made by billers, and so the way things are being done are just sometimes really doesn't make sense to me. Let me just put it that way. And so I have to figure out how to do certain things. Now, one of the things that I don't like about some of these practice management systems is that they require you to delete stuff. So like for some reason, if you made an error or if you had to resubmit a claim or something like that, they want you to delete stuff. And I am so against deleting things because as a medical biller, you need to make sure that you have your history of claims, have documentation. You don't ever want to delete things. And so I'm so skeptical when it comes to deleting anything. I would prefer to be able to, maybe void it or make a note or something other than delete. So when they tell me, oh, you have to delete it and then put it back, I get really iffy about that. If you've dealt with Theranest before, let me know your feelings on it. And I think they were previously known as Insora health. So if you've dealt with any of them, let me know. But currently, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working on rejections, denials, and also any payment posting that the provider has that is kind of not just straightforward. So that's another thing that I do. So if there's a payment that's not straightforward, maybe there's a line that's denied, but they paid some, or they didn't pay what was expected to be paid, and the person who usually posts payments would leave that for me to do because I, know a little bit more. I know how to determine if this is correct, if it's not correct, and how to do it. So I also do those things. So this is what I'm working on. I probably will be working on this for about another 2 to 3 hours, and that's pretty much what I have to do. It'll be probably calling insurances when I need to find more information, emailing the provider's office if I have to get any more information about something. A lot of times when things are rejected, it has to do with the insurance cards, where the claims are being sent to, if they're being sent to the correct payer. And that is why it is so important that you take a copy of the front and the back of the insurance card, because you need to know where you're sending the claims. Although on the cover or on the front of the card may say Aetna, you may have to send that to United Healthcare or whatever it may be. And a lot of times that happens too when you are working with therapy, so behavioral health, mental health. They usually have like a different section or a different person who pays. There's a lot of third party payers within the mix, and I've recognized that, or I've noticed that more recently than before, because for me, when I started out in 2006, if a payer said on the card it was Cigna, then it was Cigna who was actually making the payment. Although the card may say Cigna, someone else may be making the payment. And you also have to remember that one section may process the claim, the other one may pay the claim, and they may be two different sections. One may be a third party payer, one may be the payer being Cigna or United Healthcare, and so it can get confusing. So always make sure that you write things down just in case you have another patient who has the same insurance. So that's a little cheat sheet, a little help for you. Yes. Yes. No. Yes. I don't know it. Eligibility. No. My name is Tamika. I am calling about the eligibility and benefits for a patient, 7/2014. I am currently dealing with some taxonomy code issues. A taxonomy code is the basically like either the provider or the practice's specific specialty or the organization type. So if you are a mental health provider, you'll have a taxonomy code. If you are might be counselor, mental health, whatever, there's a list of these codes. And usually when you apply, or when the provider applies for NPI, they would have to choose what their primary taxonomy code is. And, they might have more than one, but they would have a primary one. They have to have a primary one that's associated with their NPI. And then the practice has a NPI as well, because you know that there are NPI 1 and NPI 2, and the practice needs to also have a taxonomy code. And on the claim form, you would usually put the taxonomy code on the claim form. Now, let me say that in my years of billing, taxonomy codes were not always used, I guess I would say, as frequently as they are being used now. When I first started out, it was like I said, it wasn't really used. But I guess now the payers are using it more, and so they are requiring it on box 24J and box 32 and 33B. Now, if you don't know the different boxes of the claim form and you're a biller, then you should probably just try to review the claim form. I have a video that I'll link that I go through each box to let you know what needs to be in the box and explain it. But these are where the taxonomy codes come in. And so since the taxonomy codes, the taxonomy, if I say it right, codes weren't used, a lot of times when you set it up, the system, the practice management system, it's not put in there. And so some of our claims have been being rejected or being denied because the taxonomy code is not there and the payer is now requiring it. They're giving us a grace period apparently, but I wanted to mention that when you do have a taxonomy code, it should match what you have on the NPI. So when the practice and when the provider signed up for the NPI, they chose a taxonomy code, and you can actually look for that and see what that code is in the NPPES registry, and it will tell you what codes you selected. I know some of the providers don't remember, it's been a while, but if it's incorrect and you need to change it, then they should change it, because these codes that you're using, they make a difference because they should coincide with what you're putting on the claim form. So again, if you do not know what the taxonomy code is, you should look at the list of taxonomy codes that they have so the provider can choose the best one for them. And then I'm assuming that a lot more payers is going to require it. So that's what I'm working on now, trying to figure out how to put the taxonomy codes onto the claims, because they weren't originally being put onto the claims because they weren't required to be there. Now they're being required for some payers, and so that's what I'm working on here, and trying to figure out how to get it to print on the claim form is a whole nother thing, because you need to know where in the practice management system that you need to put that information so that it can then be put on the claim form. We're going along. This was not on my list of things to do, let me say that, but now it is. So again, every day is not the same. You have things planned, but it doesn't always work out the way it's supposed to. So now I'm presently working on a patient who had three insurances, three insurances, and they no longer have three insurances. But even when they had three insurances, there was an issue with coordination of benefits. I just did a webinar, I don't know if you caught it, but it was about how different parts of the revenue cycle can affect your job as a medical biller. And so this has to do with patients basically, and also the front desk. So a patient who has three insurances, you need to figure out the coordination of benefits. The patient sometimes doesn't know what the coordination of benefits are, meaning they don't know who's primary, secondary, who's the third one. And so it can get mixed up. And so then you start to build the insurances that are not primary or not in order, and it becomes a whole long thing. And so that's what happened with this patient. And now it seems like the patient only has one insurance, but something is still holding up payment, because apparently the insurance that we're sending the claims to is saying that the patient still has a primary, and the patient is saying they only have one insurance. But again, they still need to coordinate benefits, meaning that they need to let the insurance know they no longer have this insurance. And so this is what I think is happening again. But it just goes to show that there can be many reasons why your claim is not getting paid and can hold up payment. And so it doesn't always have to do with the biller not doing their job or whatever the situation might be. That is why. So this is what I'm working on. I feel like I'm going to be working on this for probably the latter half of the day. I finished lunch, which was just a smoothie. I'm drinking my water because today is hot. I'm in the U.S. Virgin Islands and it is hot. It is blazing. And so I have to make sure that I stay hydrated, and also to be able to focus, because you have to really focus when you're talking to the insurance companies and trying to figure out payment. So I hope you guys enjoyed following this day with me. If you did, please leave a comment below. Let me know. Maybe I'll try and do this again or do this again, and I will see you again in my next video.